Hey guys, Rob from Georgia here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe, with my ongoing Space 1999 Year 2 look. The entire series is unfolding, right? Episode 33, New Adam, New Eve. John Kenneth Muir has a lot of issues with this particular one that sort of the boiling point in terms of some of these Year 2 episodes. And, I had such an incredible ride with Year 1 in terms of reviewing each and every episode. I actually, since I started Year 2, I have not gone back to watch any Year 1. I have found this weird sort of happy groove with Year 2 as flawed as it is in comparison to Year 1. I don't want to disrupt whatever positive vibe I got going, so I can sort of hit on as many of the good things as I can. But you can better well believe that when this series comes to its end, I will go back and revisit quite a few of my favorite episodes from Year 1. It is superior to anything in Year 2, and that is just my personal thought. That isn't to suggest there's no reason why you ought not to watch Year 2, but just it is the lesser of the 2 years easily. Although Catherine Schell, who plays Maya, is I said something to a comment somebody who I think it was Julie who commented on one of my older videos. I often think, I wonder what it would have been like to see Victor and Maya together, having philosophical debates back and forth. That could have been really interesting. But New Adam, New Eve, released or aired October 9th, 1976, and directed once again by Charles Crichton. It ought to be one of the better episodes just by that very fact, but you do have a producer whose expectations this year in Year 2 is not the same as they would have been in Year 1. So regardless of what he brings to the table, it's still not going to be as good as what he did in Year 1. There's only one real major guest actor, and that is Rolfe, who plays the titular role of Magus, who and this is going to be my main issue with this entire episode. Sort of in a contrast to Black Sun from Year 1. He plays the I am God, I am your creator, and I am about to give you something that I have never given humanity ever, and that is a second chance. And so he suddenly appears on the scene at Moonbase Alpha, and really he doesn't ultimately in the end give, although he plays it off as he's giving choices, he's not really given much of a choice about anything as to his plans for 4 individuals from Moonbase Alpha, being, of course, Koenig, Maya, Tony, and Helena. And we know Tony has a thing for Maya. Maya, I think, has a thing for Tony. We definitely know Koenig has a thing for Helena, and it is reciprocated back. But basically what he does is he offers this opportunity. And now, of course, he's a little, he's deceiving, because I think in Koenig's mind, when he convinces that those 4 go down to the planet to survey it, they think they're going down to survey it for all of Moonbase Alpha. They're not. They are going down to survey it specifically. It's just a way to get them on the planet, because he has already decided that he is going to mess, experiment, and try to create, I don't know exactly what the end point's supposed to be, but ultimately he's going to force, or attemptably try to force, Tony and Helena together, and Maya and Koenig together, to basically breed and create a new, sort of a new society. He is actually like a mad scientist. Now he is sort of some alien entity that has the ability of, he's pretty powerful. He's not omnipotent, and he's not omniscient. He's not all powerful, he's not all knowing. Therefore, he is not God. And one of my huge criticisms with this episode, in light of Black Sun, okay, if you're not going to play theology with a serious approach, you probably shouldn't play theology. In Black Sun, you know, and that was like the closest they got to this notion that, well, the prevailing thought in question is, how have they survived that long? Just meandering about in deep space, you know, on the moon. How is it that they've survived that long? And there's a conversation between Victor and Koenig that ultimately is sort of this God or cosmic intelligence, this notion of divine providence. Really, there is an unseen hand mover that is gently guiding them along to a specific purpose and specific intent, and it's dealt with in a very serious way. Now, they're not playing theology in the sense that they're going to step on toes and say and do things that are going to, you know, rile up the masses, so to speak, but they approach it in a very serious manner that will give people who perhaps aren't religious or, say, Christian, have a stake in either Orthodoxy or Catholicism or even Protestantism, but gives some serious food for thought in light of the, you know, contextually in light of the story of Space 1999. Here is an opportunity where they directly grab the horns of the bull and attemptably try to play theology, in the sense that you have this Magus character who shows up out of nowhere and attemptably tries to have his way with these four individuals down on, when I say have his way, I mean get them to do what he wants them to do. They will eventually, of course, see through this. They almost get suckered in, though. They almost sort of get suckered into this. No, it's like Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, right? Which I think is brilliant writing compared to this story, in terms of how they approach theology. But when he first comes off as God, he says a few things that just, I don't know. It's like the notion of, well, number one, the fact that it will crack through that he's not omnipotent, he's not omniscient, but he makes the point when he says, I want to give you something humanity has never had, and that is a second chance. Well, I mean, I don't care which branch of Christianity you're in terms of just the scope of knowledge of that. Noah's Ark was a second chance for humanity. It just, you know, theoretically, just to accept it for a moment, that was a second chance. The advent of the new covenant, Christ, was a second chance. That was where everything was leading up to. None of that is mentioned in this, right? The absence of free will to suggest that suddenly mankind does not have free will. He must be sort of reprogrammed into what this entity wants. And how Koenig and the rest of them respond to this, it's like they're theologically impotent. It's like, I mean, and I get it. If you don't want to play theology, if you don't want to get into the thick of the mud and everything, then you really ought to be outside of the perimeter a little bit, like Black Sun, and invoke some interesting things without necessarily getting into the arena to really play. Because quite honestly, they should have saw right through him a whole lot faster. I get it, he has some power, he's done some things, but it takes them way too long to see through. I love Star Trek when it doesn't take long for Kirk to start seeing through, and when the entity makes the mistake of saying, you know, could this starship transport my essence? Kirk is quick to step up and, what does God need with a starship? And of course, I think it was McCoy who immediately is like, you don't ask God. Well, no, you do, when he's acting in a way that he ought not to be acting, or your understanding of how he ought to be acting. And very quickly, he will start showing that he possibly can't be the creator of all, because he never shows. I know I'm even getting way too deep into this, and so I don't know. I really, that was irritating to me, because it just seemed like, I don't know. It just seemed like, you know, Koenig makes a point and says, you know, I think Tony said something, and about, you know, his power and his, and, you know, I don't know, he says something, and Koenig's quick response is, well, he should have showed up on Earth a little bit earlier to show. And I'm thinking, well, technically, in terms of the theological context, he did. And it's just, you're, I don't know, it felt like a theological dumpster fire to me. And, you know, I love Black Sun. I love how the approach of it, how it's handled. Even if Victor isn't going to grab onto this notion that he is the biblical understanding of God, he's willing enough as a scientist to come far enough up to the line to accept the notion that it is a cosmic intelligence. It is something that is divinely leading them along the way. And then when this thing presents itself in front of Koenig, I just think the whole response should have been a little bit different. I think it's just a really, 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 really weak writing. But that's just my personal take. You take that whole mess out, it is very cliche written in terms of what we already seen a million times. I think John Kenneth Muir mentioned about 6 of them. I'm not gonna, you know, go into all that. And you're really, this is an opportunity to extend the life of a brilliant TV show, at least bare minimum by a year. And they will do that ultimately in the end. They'll get 24 episodes, and we will have 2 years of Space 1999, which I think is absolutely fantastic in the end. Although my heart is with year 1, I will ultimately sometime, there'll be a couple of episodes in year 2 that I will come back and revisit. But year 1 will be where that is where my heart is. I just thought the writing and the approach and what they were trying to do was way on a higher level. But I get what Freiberger's trying to do as well. I get it. He's not in there in the business of what they were for year 1. He is there for a different reason. He's there to extend this life as long as he can, and as he did, as what he was known for as a producer. And for that, you know, got to tip the hat. As flawed as year 2 is, you got to tip the hat to him. Magus, or Guy Rolfe, if you didn't know, was in the movie Dolls from '86. He also played Toulon in The Puppet Master, which is kind of cool. So there is definitely a reason to check it out, if not Guy Rolfe's performance. The story itself is, well, you know, we sort of, a lot of it, we've been there, done that, and this really is just a means of getting us through a year, really. We'll see. I'm sure there's got to be some really good episodes in front of me. This one was a little frustrating to get through, but I get it. I get what they're doing. And yeah. Anyways, new Adam, new Eve. Conceptually, a bit, I don't know. I was gonna say terrifying. I don't know. That's probably overstepping it. It has its possibilities. You know what Kirk says in Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan? Always the notion of possibilities. Anyways, as we roll along, by the way, one of the reasons I got this on is I just reviewed Anthropophagus for my Italy's Holocaust series. They both drop on Wednesday, this and that one. So if you've never checked out any of my stuff from Italy's Holocaust, that one runs long, but it's I think it's worth it. I don't know. It was great just to talk about that film. Anyhow, thank you for the support. Thank you for the comments, for the subs, the like, everything. Just appreciate it. And as we roll past 33, I think the next one is the next one I'll be jumping into is Brian the Brain. And I have heard some things about that one, so I'm looking forward to checking that one. I think, yep, technically it's the first one on the disc. All right, as always, go Bills.